I'm Jason Waller here with Jason Waller Unleashed. That's right. Top podcast on society and culture, climbing the charts. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. Check it out. Also YouTube. I have got a bomb-ass guest today. This dude is an OG in the game of playing baseball and football in college, then going to play pro in the NFL. He is a stud at football. He played for my favorite team, the Detroit Lions. The guy played and won a Super Bowl championship with the Seahawks, and he is doing some big ass things in pickleball, which I'm still trying to learn, and messing around with Bitcoin a little bit. My man Golden Tate, how you doing, baby?
I'm good, man. It's been a while since we done kicked it, man. I mean, I had to be in Detroit several years ago.
18, right before the trade, I think.
It's crazy, man.
I remember that trade too. I was so pissed they traded you. I was like, what the fuck? 'Cause they're supposed to pay you, and then they traded you.
Yeah, so
I remember.
They offered me on a Friday, and this is like the third offer. It was a lowball offer, in my opinion. And I said no, played the game on Sunday, had a pretty solid game, was at a doctor's appointment on Tuesday, and I got a call from Bob Quinn. Hey, Golden, how you doing? And a little awkward, but it's not even on my mind I'm getting traded, especially since they just had offered me a pretty okay number, but not what I was worth number. And he said, hey, we're going to go ahead and trade you to the Philadelphia Eagles. Just wanted to call and let you know. And I was like, okay.
You thought you were getting pumped, right?
Yeah, I was like, okay. But my initial thought was, heck yeah. Like, I get to go to Philadelphia. They won a Super Bowl last year and, are hoping to do the same this year. Lions at this point, I think we might have had maybe 1 or 2 wins and, just wasn't looking good for us. So I was like, yes. But then that was my initial thought. But then as it sinks in and I'm going home, calling family, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a huge challenge. I'm about to just up and pack today and go to Philadelphia for a presser, having packed up. Family's probably not going to hop on a plane with me. I got a baby girl that's almost 1. I have a son that's in my wife's stomach and she's 8 months and it's just chaos. I'm like, man, I'm about to have to really do all of this crap all over again. I got to learn teammates, learn coaches, learn playbook, learn the city, learn where my locker is, learn how to get to the cafeteria, learn all this stuff. And so then it became from yes to sheesh, this is about to be scary and this is a journey.
Yeah. I remember that because you guys lived not too far from us in Birmingham. And I remember when that happened, I was like, what? We thought you guys were going to be there forever. You were already there, I think 4 or 5 seasons. And, but the whole culture was different. I can say this, not sure if you can say this, but the whole culture was really different with the GM and the coach at that time than what it is now and what I think it was previously with Caldwell. I just think it was completely different vibe. At least that's what I get from a lot of the ex-players there. And that makes a difference in the locker room, makes a difference with the players, makes a difference with the players' families on how things are portrayed and taken, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But which, you had to change it. You had to try to change the culture some way, somehow, because the Detroit Lions traditionally have just been a losing organization. I mean, that's unfortunately just the hard, cold truth right there. So you have to, everyone's coming in trying to change the culture, change the way we think, change the way we play. But we forget to acknowledge that, look, we're not the New England Patriots. And, Matt Patricia coming in thinking, I'm about to turn this team into the Patriots. That ain't happening. You don't have Tom Brady. You don't have Bill Belichick. Point blank in the story now. Stafford is an exceptional player and the best quarterback I've ever played with, but that combination of coach to quarterback is something that that's hard to mimic. So Patricia tried really hard, and I don't agree with his coaching style with a lot of things that he said and did in the locker room. You can ask Darius Slay about.
I was about to say, I know some comments he made to Slay that was super inappropriate that Slay's talked about. And that was just crazy. And then I saw Slay at an event, and when Patricia was coming back there to coach, he was just like, I can't believe this is happening. What?
Yeah, he was not
to talk to grown-ass men like that's a little inappropriate. I mean, I get it. It's football. You got to be hardcore. But some of the shit he said or what I heard he said and, I had friends that were in the locker room like, dude, that's just unreal. And I would, after some of the games, a couple of guys come to my house and I ran big companies and I would be like, listen, it's always got to be about the company first, the team first. But in some cases, that's just abusive, right? There's a line that's crossed that's like, okay, that's not us getting better as a football team. That's you degrading my humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you're exactly right. And like, I won a championship. And I went with Pete Carroll, and it was a completely opposite vibe. Like, Pete Carroll was always going to build you up. He was always going to be on your, make him feel like make you feel like he's on your side. He's going to be there and support you. But also having Patricia, Joe Judge, and even Charlie Weiss in college, like, those guys just grew up like MFing you, and they're going to, kick your tail verbally and also in practice. And, we're at a time where you just can't do that anymore. You just can't do that with social media and everything. Like, you just cannot be abusive in your words. And it hurt a lot of guys. It hurt the team. And it just proved like you only got away with it for so long because, again, you had Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And like, although I was going to get MF'd up and down the street, we knew that at the end of the year, we was going to be in the AFC Championship and potentially the Super Bowl. So that masked all of that stuff. Like, winning just masked all of it. Now, getting your butt chewed, and then on top of that, going out there and getting beat down, that's just, no, that's not going to work.
It's tough. All right, well, let's talk about this. Some of the listeners, might not know who you are, and I want them to understand kind of your upbringing. I know you grew up in Tennessee, and you went to Notre Dame, and you played baseball and football, and that seems to be the thing. What was your heart at when you were in college? Was it baseball? Was it football? What dynamic changed to where you decided, hey, football's the route I'm going to go? Because I saw you were drafted a couple times in baseball.
Right. Pretty much I love both sports. Baseball was my first love. And I kind of lost it a little bit in high school based off the schedule. But then I loved it, again, just as much as I love football early on in college. But the truth is, I just kind of developed as a young man and as an athlete, I just felt like for my playing style and what I want to achieve in sports, football was a better fit for me. It was more, I feel like I can make a play to help the team out on first down, second down, third down, fourth down, punt return, kick return, all over the place. In baseball, I'd get caught in the outfield, kind of, figuring like, this cloud looks like a dog, this one looks like a lizard, and next thing you know,
waiting for the hit,
right. And like, you get to make a play every now and then. You bat every 3 innings, best case scenario or worst case scenario. So I just feel like I can affect the football field much more. And I just developed to enjoy it so much more in the football field. I was tough. I didn't have to deal with too many injuries, thankfully. I went out there and just without athlete people in college, and obviously earned the Biletnikoff Award, which is the best receiver in the nation award. And I was the first ever Biletnikoff winner in Notre Dame, so that's special. And after my third season, with the numbers I put up, with the situation of Charlie Weiss was probably getting fired, Jimmy Clausen, my quarterback, was probably entering the draft. I was coming off the Biletnikoff. I'd had the best numbers best numbers in the nation as far as receiver. I couldn't stay for my senior year. So I entered the 2010 draft and was drafted in the second round, the 60th overall pick by the Seattle Seahawks. And I'll never forget that day.
Do you know all the receivers picked before you?
Does
that motivate you? Because some people like, Amon-Ra St. Brown, that obviously motivates him. Right. Mm-hmm. And your guys' playing style is very similar, my opinion. As a fan watching the game, you, Steve Smith, him, what's his name? Hines Ward. You guys all kind of play very similar, right? Mm-hmm. Low end, strong lower body, not scared to take a hit, running routes really great hands, quick off the turn. Very similar, and a tough player, right? Not scared to be scrappy. And so as good as your stats were, I just wonder if you knew some of the receivers, or has that ever motivated you? Different things motivate different people. I'm motivated. No. Like I hate losing more than I like winning. So it like motivate, like if I lost, I'm like, oh shit, now I'm pissed. Right. And different things. So I didn't know if that ever motivated you. Like, damn, I wish I would have been picked higher and, I'm motivated to beat those guys that are ahead of me, or no.
Initially I went into it like, I'm going to make all these teams pay who passed up on me. Now, I didn't get too offended on who got drafted ahead of me because I felt like they got drafted ahead of me because of, the things that I couldn't help, which were their size, their arm length, their, hand size. Like I understood, like, look, when I was drafted, there wasn't too many guys out there like me. And so I didn't take too much offense to it. And plus, like, my buddies had gotten drafted before me. It was like Des Bryant and Demaryius Thomas, rip him. I think that's really maybe the only two. But my mindset was like, I'm gonna make these other teams pay, and wish they would have, taken me and just kind of developed. I mean, now also I wasn't going to like take the mentality that Amon took, because I'd only been playing receiver for 2.5 years at that point. Out of high school, I was just an athlete. I was just an athlete that was, I was a running back recruited, but I could play receiver. And once I got to Notre Dame, they realized that I loved playing receiver, and I can run, I can jump, I can catch. I had hand eyes. So they was like, okay, you can play wide receiver, but I had no clue what that meant. And so I was just an athlete out there that was just out athleting people. So for me, it wasn't, the same mentality he had, but I do admire that mentality because it, big picture, it helps you lock in every day, because there's just days where I don't care what job you're doing, you just don't feel like doing it. Like whether you're just under the weather, just your mood or your personal issues. But with Amon, he wakes up every morning and first things on his mind is like, these are the dudes that they took before me. These are the guys who people saw more valuable than I am. And so that right there allows you to chug through all of the BS, feel sorry for yourself talk. Yeah.
He's about to get paid too. Well overdue. He's about to get paid. Right. Because Cat's only been making like, I'm not saying it's a little, but $850 a year, he's about to have generational wealth. He's going to change his family's, whole lifeline, which good for him. He works his ass off. But the comparison there for me and my son, being Lions fans and watching, and, he's a big fan of you and Calvin. You and Amon-Ra St. Brown have a lot of similarities in how you guys play. And the big one's Hines Ward or Steve Smith. Very similar. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you said that, so you know that. So let's go into this. Winning a Super Bowl. Question is this. Would you rather had a bigger contract or win the Super Bowl?
Win a Super Bowl.
Like you won a Super Bowl with the Seahawks, right? So you're saying you'd rather win a Super Bowl than get a bigger contract. I like that you said that, because a lot of people are like, nah, I wish I'd made some money. There are people that never even got to sniff the Super Bowl that are just, it's next level. Your boy Stafford finally got one. Mm-hmm. I didn't know if they were going to win that game.
When Odell went out, I was definitely worried. But the thing is, so when I was with Lions, I would have interviews and people would always ask, who's the best quarterback you've played with? And for me, it was a no-brainer. It was Matthew Stafford. And people thought I was crazy. It was like, no, Russell Wilson, are you kidding me? You have no clue what you're talking about. You're just an idiot. And then when Stafford left Detroit, had instant success in LA, winning the Super Bowl, which is hard to do. There's only been one other quarterback who's done it, and that's Tom Brady. The first year that they've gone to a new location. People are like, oh, wow, Gold knows what he's talking about. Well, no shit. I was around this guy for 4.5 years. So let's debate this a little bit. I want to debate this a little bit because, listen, I like Stafford. I think he's got more arm talent than anyone I've probably ever seen play, besides maybe John Elway. Like, the arm talent is unreal. Mm-hmm. But I was one of those in the camp, and I loved it. Oh my God. And I was one of those camps that he's not the ultimate leader. You don't have to be the ultimate leader to be the great quarterback. But I felt like, maybe I'm wrong, but I want to have this conversation because everyone's always scared to have this conversation with me, or they shy away from it. I felt like when Lombardi, the offensive coordinator, left, remember that Lombardi, I forgot his first name, Coach Lombardi? Joe.
When he left, he made a comment that I read saying he had to dumb down the offense for Matthew Stafford. Okay. And when I read that comment, I was like, what? And when I'd pay attention to things, maybe this is me. You've played in the league. I have no idea. I'm just a spectator. It seems like he needed someone like McVay to call the plays and manage him and his talent more than the other way around where he was given so much rope in Detroit, because I think you guys had some good teams a few times, but the progression of the reads doesn't get past 2 or 3. It was more like he's like his deep ball nobody beats, right? That's just nobody touches it. Am I wrong in saying all those things? Is it semi-correct?
Okay, so when I got there, I kind of heard the same things, but, you know, I'm not a quarterback, so I can't read, you know, I don't know how to read offenses either. So, but he knew what he had. He knew that he was always going to be the most talented quarterback on the field at all times. He can make any single throw, rather he's late, early, he can get it there, and he knows that. And on top of that, you have Megatron, okay? And so push come to shove, okay, I don't know what's going on here with you guys. Megatron, just go get it over 4 or 5 dudes. And it worked. It worked. He threw for 4,000 to 5,000 yards several years. Now, however, on the flip side of that, like Stafford has had a lot of pressure. Like where they drafted him, they expected him to turn that program completely around, and it's just impossible for one person to do. Like it is a collective effort. And so this guy was throwing for 4,000 to 5,000 yards and not having a run game. And if you don't have a run game, you don't really have play action pass. And he was still leading the league in several categories when people knew that he was going to be throwing it, and people knew that they were going to be down. The Detroit Lions were going to be down in the fourth quarter, so he's going to have to throw, but you still couldn't stop it. And so to me, mentally, yes, he had to develop more when I got there, and he definitely absolutely did. But conversely, like, who was his offensive coordinators who were supposed to be going down this road with him? Like this guy was learning a new offense every couple years, so he never really could get good at that offense anyway. I mean, there ain't too many people I know who's going to be good quarterbacks dealing with a new offense every 1 to 2 years, knowing that you can't run the ball. So, like, his situation was an unfortunate situation.
There were no running backs in Detroit for several years. This is like the first time ever since Barry.
Yeah. Well, we haven't had anyone like Barry since then, but I thought Reggie Bush was solid.
Reggie Bush was good, but he was good. We couldn't get it going though. The line and everything was just we couldn't get there.
Right. So schematically, I think Detroit couldn't figure it all out. Turns out, Schwartz goes to Philadelphia and does well, but he's more of a defensive guy. But I think Stafford. We agree that as far as talent, you're not going to find anyone who's tougher with arm talent like that. Even now, he's still top tier, and it's a beautiful thing when you add a great offensive mind into the picture. Who, like, you look at the offenses now, everyone is running the same. It's evolving towards the Sean McVay, the Mike Shanahan type of offense. Like, that's just where it's going. And you're seeing different style quarterbacks entering the league. Now you're seeing more dual threat because that's just one more thing for you to cover. Now you got a dual threat quarterback that is going to fake it to a Debo type of guy, maybe give it to a CMC type of guy, but also maybe Anthony Richardson he's going to pull it and then run. You got to cover the entire field. So I think things are definitely changing, and you're getting less pocket passers, and you're getting guys who can bop and take off for 60.
Yeah, well said. And I think on the arm talent thing with Stafford, you're right. Even today, Mahomes maybe gives him a run for his money, maybe, but Stafford's older. There's not anybody that can throw like him. That's always been his magical gift.
Absolutely. I
looked at the offense thing with the Rams. I like Goff too, and they're completely different players. I like Goff because I'm not questioning Stafford's intelligence, but he needs a mind like McVay to make him go. Where I think Goff adapts better. Nowhere near the arm talent, but can adapt better to the situation when it's bad. But with 2 minutes left in the game, it was so exciting watching Stafford go if we were down 5. Like, he was one of the guys you just give him, he's going to find a way to make it happen, which takes a lot of grit and energy. So I'm glad he got the Super Bowl. I'm glad the Lions look good now. So, you go through and you're playing with the Lions, you get traded to the Eagles, and then you end up going to the Giants, correct? for a little bit. The dynamic of playing for those teams, where was your favorite place to play? Because I know you played for the Seahawks for a long time, won a Super Bowl there. Was it there? Was it Detroit? Where was it?
It's without a doubt it's going to be Seattle and Detroit, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And they both have significance in my life. Obviously, Seattle took a chance on me. I won a Super Bowl in Seattle, the only Super Bowl that Seattle has. So that will never be taken away. Now, Detroit has a part of my heart, just as much as of my heart, because they also, again, took a chance on me. They embraced me and my family, and my kids and my wife. And still, when I go back, they show love, and so does Seattle. But that's where I kind of became the Yak King, and that's where statistically I made a name for myself. And although we didn't have the success of winning statistically, I had 99 catches. I think my first year with 1,300 yards, went to my first Pro Bowl. So achieved some personal goals that I never achieved before. And, those two by a landslide are my favorite places to be. And I can't even muster up the energy to say I appreciate one team more than the other.
More. Fair enough. You do love Birmingham, though, don't you?
In the summer.
There's no place like Birmingham in the summer. Well, the winter's horrible, but the summer is unreal.
No doubt.
I mean, Detroit summers are so great, but the winters are so bad. And my wife conned me into moving away from it because the winters just beat her up too much.
And the Midwest wouldn't even be bad. Like the Midwest would be just fine if it just wasn't so dang flat. If you just had some type of mountain like that you can get to, the snowboard, ski, do something on, it would be like actually still an awesome place to be in the winter. But it's just you don't. And you gotta go to Chicago, or you gotta go ice skate on one of these frozen ponds or something like that, or go fish for one of them random fish or something. I don't know.
So as a player, I know me and Prater talk a lot, and he wants to retire. He wants to he wishes he can sign one more day with the Lions and then retire. That's his play. Denver's okay, but he's like, Detroit's his spot, right? And we went to the playoff game recently. Went to the Rams playoff game together and watched it and stuff. And he got nothing but love. And I think that
I was at that game too.
See, I know, and I didn't see it, but we were there. So, and that was such a great experience. Have you ever seen an experience like that before?
No.
That was so
that place,
emotional.
It was like people had waited their entire lives and sat on mute for their entire lives just for that night. And they just left it, like the players, the organization left it all out there. Obviously the fans left it all out there. And I was like, dang, I do not remember Ford Field being this rocking. Like, this is incredible.
It was. That was such a great experience. And I was the last time the Lions won a playoff game, I was my son's age, and he's 13. So we went together, right? And so we were sitting front row behind the Lions bench, and we were he's in tears. I mean, it was just next level, right? But the emotions were vibing in there. It was humming. It was different than anything I've ever been a part of at a game.
Oh, yeah.
I've never been to a Super Bowl. I won't go unless the Lions go. I'm that diehard. I'm like, I ain't going unless they go, right? I've had opportunity. I'm like, no. That this just felt, that was like a Super Bowl, at least for me.
Absolutely. I mean, when was the last time you had a home playoff game?
92.
Exactly. When was the last time you won a division?
91. It's 30 years ago. Yeah.
Right. And so, finally, you got, you got Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre out of the division. Kirk Cousins is hurt and probably gone now. We'll see what happens with Jordan Love. But now, I feel like the organization's in a good spot, coaching wise, scouting wise, ownership wise, player wise.
You being an ex-player, what do you think of that? That coach.
I love player coaches. I love that he's been there. He knows what it's like to be in that locker room, in those seats, because he's been a player. I love how aggressive he is for the most part. I think he needs to be he needs to understand situations a little bit better. It makes
his emotions get the best of him, I think.
One or two better decisions, and I think, he's great. And I do think he's great. And I'm really just speaking on the NFC Championship game pretty much.
Yeah.
And I think we all probably wish we had one or two plays back and we are going to the Super Bowl at the very worst. But overall, like, you got to love what he's doing, what he's done for the city. He's brought unity to the city. I think we all love him. He came in, we loved him, and then he didn't come out. He didn't have the start that, we wanted him to. So now everyone gave up on him. Like, no, he's not the answer. But then he bounces back and fights. And then this past year, we had high expectations, and they delivered. Like, there's no way any Detroit Lion fan can say this past year was a letdown, because how many of us expected us to be in the NFC Championship in the first place, besides truly those guys in that locker room? Like, we were hoping for it, but we've seen it for 30, 40 years of like, man, this is the team, and then let down. But this year we delivered 2 wins at home.
Yeah, 2 playoff wins at home.
That's big.
I didn't go to the second one. I did go to the first one. Second one, I was like, I'll watch from home. I needed. It was too cold. Detroit it was snowing that night. We went to the Rams game. It was horrible. It's like, got back at like 1 a.m. I'm like, okay, I remember why I don't live here. But it's worth coming to the games. Calvin Johnson, how great is he? How great is he? You got to play next to him. Like, what was that like for you?
I love him, dude. I mean, that is one awesome, unique guy. And he's one of those guys that when he has success, like, you're like, yes, I'm so incredibly happy for you. You deserve it. Like, he rarely talks about himself. He just went out there and played, didn't complain, always happy. And one of those guys you just kind of feel sorry for, like, the best in the world never got to experience truly the whole point of playing NFL football. And that's playoff football and having a chance at championships. And it's like, dang, dude, I wish you would experience that. But, like, I love him and his wife, Brittany, so much. And we still stay in contact. And just such a solid dude and just absolutely goated.
And he's got a good business going on. And he's very, very, very smart in how he's marketing now. We've talked about it a few times, went to a couple of events, and, he's just, you're right. He's the type of person that's very humble that you like to see win. And we don't have a lot. We get some of that in the NFL. I think, I'll give you some kudos. You were never the bragging type. I think when I think of Golden Tate, one of the plays I think of the most is where you did the flip over the Viking into the end zone. That's like one of our favorite plays of all time. Remember that? Like, that was like, holy shit, he just did that. Like, but you weren't overdone and bragging. It's very humble. You've been there before. You won a Super Bowl. Like, that's always refreshing for people that have kids watching the sport. People like Calvin, people like Barry, people like yourself, even Stafford, Patrick. I love Patrick Mahomes. I couldn't stand Patrick Mahomes, but now he's grown on me. Like, the first 4 or 5 years, I'm like, I don't like this kid. Now I'm like, I love this guy, right? I love him. I love the Kelsey thing, right? All that. I love to see records broken, and I love to see people challenged. I'm a big Tom Brady guy because I'm a Michigan guy. I know you like Notre Dame, but I'm a Michigan guy, right? And I love Tom Brady because he is not the most talented football player ever or quarterback ever. But he's probably the smartest. And so that's what made him the best, as he studied the game and he put the work in. And so it gives people hope that don't have, like you said, you would out-athlete people. And there's some players out there that have to find other ways because they don't have that ability naturally. Calvin was born with gifts that, he's just a specimen, dude. 6'6", 240, running a 4.3, like, that's unreal. Right? I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. Maybe I'm wrong. The closest thing is DK Metcalf, but they're not the same.
Absolutely. Going back to Calvin, man, I just remember, like, obviously you see him go make these catches, and, like, my belief in my mind forever was, like, I thought I was the best receiver in the league, and that's just my mentality. I don't care who I'm going up against. I don't care what their stats are, and, like, that's just how I thought. Now, I actually started to believe Calvin was significantly better than me this one day when we were in middle of camp, and we're running routes on air. We all run the go ball. I run the go ball. Stafford throws it up, and it's around the same yard line that he threw it to everyone else. I just remember me like working my ass off, like digging to stretch out and get it. I'm like, dang, Stafford, you really just stretched it out. And then I remember watching Calvin go after me, and Calvin just looks like he's just gliding. Same ball, same area. He makes it look easy and just kind of catches it like, boop. And I'm just like, okay, what separates him is stuff I just can't even control. Like, and then following that same day after practice, I'm dog tired, but I'm a leader of the offense. He's a leader of the offense. He's like, hey, G, let's run some gassers. I'm like, all right, cool. Gassers easy enough. I'll glide it out. Trying to keep up with him. He's gliding, and I am like full on like, I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel, just like lifting my tail off to keep up with him. And he's just like, he's probably filling out emails in his mind. He probably thinking about what he's eating for dinner. I'm just like, man, when are we going to be done? I'm just like, he's just so easy. And I'm just like grinding it out. And like, that's when I realized like, okay, Calvin, like you make this look way too easy. It only looks hard when you go up and climb up against 4 people and come down with the ball. That's when it's like, okay, that looked hard, but everything else you make look so easy. And so like, that was kind of when I realized.
Yeah, I think that's so funny because when he runs, even watching him in the game, it's like he's not. It looks like he's not trying, and he's just passing everybody. And then I feel like as strong as Stafford's arm is, Calvin sometimes had to wait and then jump up and get it. And Stafford had a cannon, right? So it was like, watching him jump over 3 or 4 receivers he was mossing people way more, and I love Randy Moss, than Randy Moss ever did. Like, it shouldn't be called the Moss. It should be like the Calvin or something, right? And I love Moss, but Calvin did it way more than he did. Now, I've never seen anybody jump over 4 guys. I think of the Bengals game or the Cowboys game where he just jumps up and brings it down. Like, that's just unheard of.
It's something like I would do in Little League maybe, but he was doing this against grown men. I mean, look, the name Megatron is fitting. Like, he earned that and lived up to that. Like, that man would turn into something that was just, like, not natural. Like, it's like, oh, my gosh. Like, how
it was Roy Williams that gave him that name. Remember that?
I don't even know how it happened, but it's like,
that's how it happened. He got drafted, and Roy was a little smaller than him, and Roy ended up getting traded to Texas. That was a pick that was, Roy was okay, but we ended up trading him to Dallas and getting some picks. But he brought Calvin under his wing that rookie year and gave him the name Megatron because he was so big. And it kind of stuck. Yeah. It's pretty good. All right, so let's talk about, post-football. You're a big family guy. You've got lots of pictures of your family. You've got a wonderful wife, wonderful kids. Let's talk about Golden Tate, the dad and husband. What's that like? Because when I talk to certain athletes that retire, they say they go through identity issue. They're used to being the player, the thing, like, this is my deal. I have to sign autographs. I go into a restaurant. You're getting all this love and all this attention. And when you retire, you get a little bit. And then a little longer, they forget. And all of a sudden, it doesn't matter. You're like, I'm here to get a reservation. I don't give a shit who you are. Like, all of that goes away, right? Talk about the identity issue and then what it did for you and your family after.
Okay, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I haven't dealt with that to an extent. Now, has it been extreme? Absolutely not. And mainly because I am a man of faith and understand God's love and grace. And I've tried to always practice humility. There's times where I need to be better, of course. But I would say, going back to that issue, like when I first retired, like I went through it a little bit. Like I was like, okay, my entire life, I've had a schedule that I didn't have to make. Like coaches and parents made my schedule for my entire life, obviously in the league for 12 years. And now all of a sudden I get all that taken. I don't have that anymore. I don't have like, just drop your laundry in the thing and it's going to be perfectly folded. My wife does try hard, but, and I didn't have that. And so, now that I'm done, my biggest thing is trying to find a balance between it all. Like the competitive nature never leaves me. And I still watch football. Like, dude, I could be out there playing. And so golf and pickleball has kind of helped me kind of get the competitive side out of me. But like the retirement thing it's a grind. You got to grind through it, and you got to really believe in who you are, and not be so worldly with it, really. Because if you understand, for me, if you understand God's love and who God is and what he wants for your life, like I see it as perspective, like God gave me football for a bigger and better purpose. Now, when I was playing football, I thought, okay, my purpose on this earth is to play football, make people happy, make kids happy, give them something to look up to. Now, I'm 35 years old. Football's done. So now, like, finding that new purpose has been a challenge. But as far as identity, like, I have an awesome wife and I have a family, and identity, I would see being a huge problem for guys who are single, who retire, or it ends too early because, like, now you don't know. But, like, the moment I got married, football kind of became a little bit lower on the totem pole. And then I had kids, and it came a little bit lower on the totem pole and gave me perspective. All this is perspective. Right. My perspective was like, okay, like, this is how I'm going to feed my family, but this is not the whole point of life. The whole point of life is to be a better husband, be a father that I am proud of and that my kids are proud of, and develop them into young, amazing, God-like humans. And by God, like, I just mean like trying to live like Christ, like not thinking you're bigger than the world around you. And so it's something that the NFL gives us all the aid we could possibly ask for in this transition, but include myself, I think a lot of us just have not tapped in and clocked into it. I think we are doing it more nowadays because I think now the world understands it's okay not to be okay. I mean, you're not going to find a single person walking this earth that's not dealing with something, whether it's mentally, physically, family, whatever it is, you're dealing with something, and it's okay. And like, we're not built to just be able to deal with this stuff ourselves. If you really think about the circle of life, like, God puts people around us so, for accountability and to lean on each other and to bounce ideas off each other, and to, like, when I'm down, I might need the homie or the family or parents or siblings to kind of pick up the slack and help me get back. And so finding, like, being okay, it's okay not to be okay. And so, like, if you think about your tool set, like, you always have to sharpen your tools. You always have to sharpen your crafts. Same thing in relationships, same thing in just in life. Like, maybe I'm, like, right now I'm in a good place. That don't mean I need to not be talking to someone, trying to be better, or dealing, just different things that pop up. Just understand it's a collective effort is what I'm getting at. So for me, I've gone through it, but I fight every day, and I got a great support system and family and friends that kind of help me keep my sanity. But it comes and goes at times.
I love that you talk about your faith. I think that's important. I think a lot of people are always scared to talk about faith. So I love that you talk about that. I think that's key. And you're right. Identity issues happen to anybody and everybody, no matter what their thing is. I've seen it happen a lot to athletes that are used to something, and then it's just not there anymore, and they feel less than, or they try to find out what am I supposed to do now? I'm lost. I don't have a taste of it at all as an athlete, but I ran a huge company that was supposed to go public, and then I lost it. Cost me several $100 million. Had to lay off 2,400 employees, and then it was like, what do I do now? I know I went through identity issues for about 4 months, to where I was bitter, I was angry, I was like, what do I do now? I feel, you start to doubt yourself, and you start to feel, at least for me, I felt, what does God have intended for me? Because this is what I've known, building giant businesses, and now it's gone. What do I do now? It's so hard. And I would talk to some of my friends that have done all kinds of different things in the world, and some were athletes, and they would be like, this is what we deal with when we were taught. Like, this is what we go through. It's like an identity issue. And so that's why I asked, and I'm glad, if you got a good wife and you got a good family and you get perspective early before your life changes, it's a lot easier, right? One of my downfalls, and I always own my issues, right, is I could have been a better father and a husband when I was working so hard. I worked so hard that I sacrificed all that, poured it into this business, and then the business imploded. So I basically gave everything to that. And so what it did for me is it bonded me and my family more. to appreciate those moments and memories, right? Because I'm a grandpa now. I'm a young grandpa, but I got 2 grandkids and I've got 4 kids. And so, I'm interacting a lot more and, I'm building new businesses, but like, I'm totally different now, right? I've changed a lot to where, I know what I've got to give to my family and have that perspective more than the other side. So it's good to hear that you're a man of faith, to lean on God for that. We've got to wrap up. I want to ask you in 2 quick things. You have a signature paddle coming out for pickleball. I've never played pickleball. I played ping pong. I'm not very good. And at tennis, I'm even worse. But I am fascinated, and I want to play pickleball so bad. And we're moving to Boca, and there's this neighborhood that's got these mega pickleball courts. Tell me about pickleball, and then tell me about your paddle coming out.
Yeah. Well, pickleball, the sport in general, is it's an amazing sport. And it's an amazing sport for several reasons. 1, you can be social. 2, you can get your workout and your agility in. 3, you can be competitive. And you can walk away from the court, no matter if you're 15 or 85, and be able to play the next day. Now, as I get older, I used to love playing basketball. I used to show up to the gym and I can play basketball 3-4 days straight, have no problem. When I got into my 30s, I could not show up to the basketball gym and play multiple days because my knees would be sore and so on and so forth. So to me, I think a large part of my sanity is just being able to be outside for sure. And so being able to be outside, the fresh air, appreciate the camaraderie, the sport itself, the weather has been good for my mental health. Now, I think for specifically ex-athletes, like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't turn off. Like your competitive nature does not turn off. I think this is a great way, a great outlet to still be active. I think it's an easy sport. It's a very, very easy sport to learn. The rules, if you got hand-eye coordination and put paddle to ball, different levels, you can do that. That is a piece of cake. Now to get really, really good at it is the challenge. And so that's why I love it. It's more than just the athlete. Because I go out there and get my tail kicked by a 65-year-old. I'm like, this makes no sense. Because he's playing chess when I'm out here playing checkers. I'm trying to speed up bad balls, and he's just like, oh, I'm going to dink you to death and let you make the mistake. And so that's the unique thing about it. And so I think all ex-athletes should at least, go into this and give it a shot, try it. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. I mean, I play golf as well, and golf is just way more time consuming. I got to go out there for 4.5 hours, play 18 holes. Unless I'm practicing daily, I'm, gonna get good and then really fall off tremendously if I don't practice and stay with it. So to me, you got 2 hours to spare on a break or after work or before school, after school, then go out there and mess around with it and give it a shot and just see if you can see yourself trying it out. So for me, it's been amazing. And obviously one of the fastest sports growing in the world right now. I mean, it's crazy how fast. Now, going to my signature paddle, I'm not trying to, I would love to be pro, but my wife's not biting, and I'm a long, long, long way from being pro. But partnered with a company called Pro XR, which is one of the major pickleball paddles, but people maybe heard about them through their handles for their baseball bats and other sports. But we're partnering and coming out with a signature paddle. And I'm in the process of making the designing the logo, figuring out the paddle, and I'm learning so much about pickleball paddles. Like for the longest time, I just know, all right, this is what I like and feels good. But now I'm starting to learn about the thickness and the touch part of it, the balance points and handles and sizes and all that stuff. So it's been super fun. And, hopefully it releases over the next 3 or 4 months. I don't know how production works and how fast I can make it, but I'm super excited.
I want one of those because I'm moving to Boca. I'm gonna start playing. I need one of those Golden Tate paddles, man. I'll support that for sure. I'm telling you, I don't have to be super agile either, right? You said a 65-year-old man. If I'm not a fast runner, I can just bebop around. I'll be all right. You think?
Absolutely. You were just majoring doubles. I mean, the court's I think the court width is like 24 or 25.
Do you play a lot of doubles or you play singles?
I prefer doubles, man. Singles, I just hadn't figured it out yet. And that's a whole bunch of you got to really be in shape to do singles. And, I still do worry about my Achilles and ACLs. So I kind of stay away from singles. But doubles, man, I mean, it's a smaller court for 2 people. So it's more like strategy and hitting good shots. and being in tune with your body and placement. And so like, you're going to know your weakness right off the back, and you're going to do your best to protect your weakness. And you can do that offensively, but you can also do that defensively, placing the ball. And so like, more than just the athletic part of it and running around hitting balls, it's like, okay, I'm thinking like, how can I get an edge to, set myself for a slam? Like, you want to slam and you want to pop the ball, but like, having touch is very, very important.
I'm going to definitely, I heard it's like ping pong and tennis had a baby, right?
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. And that's how I associate. And I play a lot of ping pong. And so I have paddle awareness, but I just like it because like, you can go in there for the first time ever. And like, as long as you are with someone who has a similar experience, like, you both can have fun.
Yeah.
Like, and they have,
I heard it's super competitive, a lot of gambling. Like, friends of Florida, like, man, we gamble on these games like crazy. I'm like, well, all right. I
haven't locked into that. I haven't locked into that.
San Diego isn't as sideways as Florida can be. I'm sure, but Florida doesn't have as many rules. Yeah,
we got some degenerates though.
I'm sure. All right, and then last but not least, which I'm really excited to hear what you're doing, is you're taking some coaching for broadcasting. Talk about that.
Yeah, just again trying to figure out what my purpose is and where I could be happy, but also represent God the correct way. And talking football is something that I can do in my sleep pretty much. I understand the football at the very basic core level, and sharing my knowledge, I think I have an ability to share it in a simpler way, but not make you feel stupid, like I'm talking to you like you're stupid. So it's something that I'm being coached to like find the etiquette. My words are my words, but find the etiquette and how to get it all out correctly. And so that's obviously been a journey, and it's like anything else. If you want to be good at it, you have to put the time in. So when I first retired, I was like, yeah, I know football. I like to talk. I can just do this without doing much. No, boy, was I wrong. This is a real job. It takes a lot of time, a lot of practice, a lot of confidence, and a lot of soul digging, because at first I was the subject. I walk into an interview, I was the subject. Now I am walking into the interview and I'm not the subject. I have to ask you the question. You're the subject. I need to pull it out of you. So trying to find that way, find my voice is a journey and fun, but working at it.
Hey, that's what it takes, man. Well, hey, this has been fun. I appreciate you coming out here, and I'm looking forward to getting the paddles. So thanks for coming on the show, bud.
My pleasure, man, and congratulations.
And last thing, do you believe in aliens?
I do, but it depends on like what type of aliens you're asking. Like, do I believe ET's walking around? Absolutely not. But I do believe in like there's like aliens as in like spirits and stuff like that, and good
so
spirits,
that's what
bad
I believe.
Spirits.
Have you ever heard of Dolores Cannon?
I don't know. Maybe
if you ever Google her, she's an older lady that passed a couple of years ago, but she was one that hypnotizes people and talks to them previously. She talks now. I'm a born again Christian. I've got 4 kids. We've been baptized. I'm a man of faith as well. But what she says makes me interested, and I don't know if I really believe it, but I am very intrigued by it, and I start to pay attention to it more. But she says, and she puts, she hypnotizes people, talks to their previous life, that there is God, there is Jesus, but these aliens are spirits of God that show up here, and they planted seeds to start this world like the Bible talked about, and that this is a world of free will, so they can't dictate things, and there are other worlds like this that God has made, and people have been in place. She brings up like the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Egyptians have all praised or prayed to some kind of being that came from the sky, right? And had powers, like all of them. Like they all had some kind of magical powers. Jesus being one of those, God's son, came down as an angel or an alien, right, from out of this world, and had powers and was talking about, the Lord and going up and our sins and everything else, right? Well, you had there was a sun god in Aztec. In the Aztecs, you had the Egyptians had their version. Everybody throughout civilization had that. And when she started talking like that, it started to really like, wow. And I just started just getting addicted to watching all her videos. So something super intriguing kind of put me onto the aliens. I don't think they look like this, but the point is like you said, spirits coming down, and, you know, something that's an hour to them could be a million years to us. Coming down and seeing and helping society and the world out a little bit. That's my thought, at least. And that's what I heard her say. Someone put me on to it, and I watched it, and I was like, no way, I'm not going to believe that. And after I watch it, I go, oh, wow. That actually sounds
Dolores
somewhat legit.
Campbell?
Dolores Cannon.
Oh, Cannon.
Yeah, Cannon. So you get a chance or whatever, I'll text you after this. I don't know if I have your number, but I'll email you, give you my cell number. Let me know what you think when you watch that. Like, it might blow your mind, be like, no way. You might be like, dude, that's really interesting, because it just put me on a path to go, wow. So she's a woman of faith as well, but she believes in these spirits, and she calls them aliens, and they're the ones that did the world. And that's
wow.
what, and when she's talking to them, those were our previous life. Some of us were them beforehand, and this is our venture now. It's just some crazy stuff. But it made a lot of sense compared to some of the other craziness that's out there. You know what I mean? Because we don't have answers on some things. And I know we're not going to have all the answers. But her stuff really simplified some stuff for me. To kind of bond science and religion together is what I feel like she accomplished, at least in her theory.
Wow, that's really interesting. So I'm actually about to probably do that now.
Well, yeah, check it out and then get to watching. I appreciate having you on, man. Good luck. Be blessed.
Absolutely. You as well, man. Take
All
care.
right, Bam.